Foo Fighters were in London last night for a big stadium show, and frontman Dave Grohl is likely going to be feeling the wrath of Taylor Swift and her fans for what he said on stage last night, immediately after saying you don't want to feel the wrath of Taylor Swift. Now, the reason he mentioned all of this was Swift was also in town for her Eras tour, and she was performing at nearby Wembley Stadium. Now, the Foo Fighters, again, they're known for their amazing live shows, and they play 100% live. Grohl took a subtle dig at Swift, seemingly implying that she doesn't always sing 100% live, and there have been questions about that, with some fans wondering, with these long 3-hour sets that are also heavily involved with choreography, whether or not the show was 100% live. Now, there are definitely a lot of backing tracks happen, as anybody who can see videos of the performance can tell that. But whether or not Taylor Swift is lip syncing is another story. But with the Foo Fighters, there's none of that. They are going to give you that 100% live show. They're going to go all out. They also play long headline sets, longer than most bands. And, let me know what you think of the Foo Fighters show if you've seen them perform. It's an amazing performance from that band. And, I'm sure Taylor Swift puts on a good show as well. She's probably the biggest artist in the world now. And, she's going to have the best and brightest of technology and special effects, and, her stage and production and everything is amazing too. But this has been a major topic of discussion about the use of both backing tracks, outright lip syncing, which I don't really think anybody is cool with, and now this whole other conversation that's emerging about AI generated vocals, which you just can't believe that we've gotten to this point where we're debating that, when you've got Universal Music Group rolling out a program where artists are going to be able to generate high fidelity versions of their vocals for songwriting or for whatever purpose. I don't even got to lay down the vocals now to do a demo. Maybe demos have become a thing of the past where they're just generating vocal takes of, it's just kind of crazy to think about. And I don't know that this is where we want things to go at all. Obviously we don't. Now, Dave Grohl has always been someone who's really fought for authenticity in music. He had this famous quote about reality TV shows and music like American Idol and The Voice that I thought was amazing. He said, "When I think about kids watching a TV show like American Idol or The Voice, then they think, oh, okay, that's how you become a musician. You stand in line for 8 effing hours with 800 people at a convention center, and then you sing your heart out for someone, and then they tell you it's not effing good enough. Can you imagine? It's destroying the next generation of musicians. Musicians should go to a yard sale and buy an old effing drum set and get in their garage and just suck, and then get their friends to come in and they'll suck too. And then they'll effing start playing and they'll have the best time they've ever had in their lives. And then all of a sudden they'll become Nirvana, because that's exactly what happened with Nirvana. Just a bunch of guys that had some effing old instruments, and then they got together and started playing some noisy ass shit, and then they became the biggest band in the world. That can happen again. You don't need an effing computer or the internet or The Voice or American Idol." And on the subject of backing tracks, there have been so many artists who have spoken against the use of backing tracks, including some artists who were later accused of using them during their shows, like Kiss bassist Gene Simmons. He spoke out and said he had a real problem with artists charging exorbitant ticket prices and then lip syncing or backing tracks on stage. And again, in those final Kiss performances, there was a lot of speculation as to whether or not they were using backing tracks or lip syncing vocals. Simmons said in 2015, "I have a problem when you charge $100 to see a live show and the artist uses backing tracks. It's like the ingredients in food. If the first ingredient on the label is sugar, that's at least honest. It should be on every ticket. You're paying $100. 30 to 50% of the show is on backing tracks, and they'll sing sometimes. Sometimes they'll lip sync. At least be honest. It's not about backing tracks. It's about dishonesty." He said, "There's nobody with the synthesizer on our stage. There's no samples on the drums. There's nothing. There's very few bands that do that now. AC/DC, Metallica, us. I can't even say that about U2 or the Stones. There's very few bands who don't use tracks." Hailstorm singer Lizzie Hail also echoed a similar sentiment in an interview about backing tracks. She said, "We do it more selfishly, not necessarily as a statement, but it has kind of become this interesting statement. We're very proud of that. But also, just again, selfishly, I don't think I'd enjoy myself. I've guested with people, I've duetted with people, and got up on stage where they have those things, and I can hear it in my in-ear monitors. And some of it's like chorus in 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm like, oh my gosh, this would drive me nuts. And also, I'd rather have us sound imperfect than have somebody figure out that I'm miming or a shaker goes awry. Where's the tambourine coming from? I'm not a big fan of it when I find out my favorite bands do that. And like I said, I'm not knocking anybody who does it. You do you. But for us, that's just not our MO. And there's nothing more fun than going out on stage and knowing that you're responsible for either we're going to be tight, we're going to be loose, something's going to go wrong, we're going to have to pull the train back onto the tracks. But that's because we're listening to each other. And also, if we weren't actually playing, We would just get worse as musicians. We've been to shows where somebody's computer went down, the tracks are no longer there, and then they don't play anymore. And we're like, can't you just plug the instruments in? And even Dave Grohl himself has previously opened up about the band's decision not to use backing tracks. He said, "We don't try to play perfect like on the record. We don't use backing tracks. I'd rather sound awful and have the chance to change things on a whim than sound like Linkin Park or Motley Crue because of today's technology. They feel naked when it comes to playing live." And so as for Taylor Swift, there have been questions about whether or not she lip syncs during her performances. Now, her shows are very elaborate. She does a 3-hour set on stage, which is definitely commendable. There's a lot of choreography involved. There are definitely backing tracks, what it would appear that there are layers of backing tracks for some of her songs. And that's pretty common. There's a lot of people that use backing tracks. I don't think that anybody who leaves her show didn't feel like they were entertained. But Grohl is touting on stage during their show that, hey, they're proud of the errors that they have in their set. And he referred to their tour as the Errors Tour. And of course, Taylor Swift's tour down the street is the Eras Tour. Just a hilarious response to that. This report from Newsweek in May of 2024 says Taylor Swift faces fresh lip syncing allegations. It says Taylor Swift has been accused of lip syncing during a live stage performance, sparking a strong reaction online from the pop star's fans. Singer-songwriter Swift, 34, is currently on the European leg of her highly lucrative Eras Tour, which last year became the first tour to break the $1 billion barrier ever. Wild. Someone shared this on social media, which ignited a firestorm, writing, "I don't mean to be hateful, but we can all see she's lip syncing, right?" And there were a lot of comments both agreeing but also defending Taylor Swift as well. One commenter replied saying most artists use a backing track, and doing a 3+ hour show with heavy choreography 3 to 5 nights in a row, it would be physically impossible and unhealthy for her to sing the entire show. Well, maybe they need to adjust their scheduling if it's actually lip syncing going on. Another one wrote, "I love how Taylor is so good at serving live vocals to the point that she's getting accused of lip syncing." One fan opined that Swift's detractors can't make up their mind. They say that she can't sing and then accuse her of lip syncing to a song they say that she can't sing. Now, one thing's for sure, Taylor Swift is definitely a very talented musician. She's an incredible songwriter, and her success definitely speaks for itself. But here is Dave Grohl last night having some fun with their live show, which he's obviously very proud of the show that Foo Fighters puts on, and he should be, because their show is just next level. I've seen them numerous times. I've seen so many different artists, and the Foo Fighters show is always right up there at the top. And so I saw them recently, even a few weeks ago, when they brought out Wolfgang Van Halen for the Eruption solo. Just really cool stuff. This is Grohl having a little bit of fun in that show last night in London.
You don't want to suffer the wrath of Taylor Swift. So we like to call our tour the Errors Tour, because I feel like we've had more than a few eras, and more than a few errors as well. Just a couple. That's because we actually play live. What?
Hey-o. Grohl doesn't care.
Just saying. I realize, man, you guys like raw live rock and roll music, right? You came to the right place.
In addition to their live show that's amazing, it's also the hilarious stage banter that Dave Grohl has during his shows as well that's fun. What do you think? Was he taking a dig at Taylor Swift? Let me know in the comments. And as always, if you're new here, be sure to hit that subscribe button with notifications on for the latest news and updates about your favorite bands.